Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going.
Hello.
Hello. It's really good to hear that music.
I know.
I mean, it's just one of my favorite parts of the week because I know that we're on and we get in the zone and have an awesome conversation and all the rest of it. So, yep, let's go. So,
highs and
lows.
You want to go first? You want me to go first? How you
go first.
Okay.
You go. Yep.
Let's see. My low. I'm gonna start with my high because it was very fun. Bobby and I, my husband and I, got to record 3 podcast episodes yesterday because we were a little behind on a few. Here's my interruption. Hi, good morning. Nope, I have the cat right here. Of course. Hold on 1 second, Declan. Hold my hand. Hold on 1 second. We recorded 3 podcast episodes for Mama Outspoken podcast, which was so great. I was so comfortable finally. We sat on the couch and recorded. So it was, I think it's in her spot to make it very comfy for us. And we were able to do it with Declan awake and with us. And he played so well by himself it had to have been like an hour and a half because 3 episodes, oh my goodness. I was so proud of him. He did fantastic. Interrupted us a few times, but at least kind of stayed off camera. And then it just felt really good to get this done and we're caught up and we can keep moving forward. Let's see. My low is, I think, my dad. So with my dad not responding well to treatment, things are just challenging now, and I'm feeling the stress and pressure and of not knowing and waiting and just so much unknown that it's a challenge. But that I don't know. That's my low. What about for you? Highs and lows.
I'll start with high as well. I think the high for me is slowly starting to get on top of house organization and shifting things around. And I feel like we're trying to move house while living in a house, which is like, there's been one room in particular where we just shoved everything in to the corner. We're like, right, that's the room where just put everything, and then we try and work everything else out around it. But yeah, slowly starting to get some organization and little play areas set up, and I'm hoping to get like a craft sort of drawing table, painting table set up as well for the kids tomorrow. And just slowly all coming together while also still needing to live in a house at the same time. Sometimes feels like mess on mess. On top of mess. The low for me is part of the organizing routines and setting everything up is also getting used to new routines. I'm really finding it challenging to fit in things which I not only want but need, like exercise at more than a 2-year-old's pace. Things like that. So it will get there. Slowly I'll just start to probably try to do some things from home while they're playing and stuff like that. I just also just haven't got the space to do that right now either. So, yeah, just can't quite see how it's going to fit yet. It's like a Tetris for now. Yeah, which brings us into what we're going to talk about today, actually, which is, copy and paste self-care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think copy and paste self-care works?
I wish it did. I don't know.
Like Control V, Control C, Control V.
Right.
Done.
Yeah. It would make, I think, self-care so much easier for everybody if the same thing worked for us every time we needed self-care. And I feel like in a perfect world it would. But we're human. Yeah. We have human children. There's no perfect right there.
Yep. And self-care, 2 weeks postpartum looks very different to 2 years or 12 years.
That is so true. Yep.
It's constantly needing to be adapted and be flexible, I think, with everything that life can throw at us, like your dad right now.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have predicted or had a crystal ball for any of that. And so I'm sure you've wanted to copy what you might have done in the past, and it just has fallen in a flop.
Sure. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, exercise works for both of us really well. You need it to feel human again. I miss it, and because it did make me feel human. But we're both on that struggle bus of where are we fitting it in? Things have shifted so much that my mornings are now consumed with other things, and that's where I had that space for it.
Yep.
So is it just that it's no longer a priority for me to fit the self-care things I did in the morning in, or is it just that I'm in a season where it just doesn't fit there and I'm stuck with this thought, well, that's where it always worked, that's where it needs to stay, versus trying to fit it in a different spot in my day? Is it better that maybe I could work out after school with Declan because he would be occupied? Do we what shifts do I need to do to make sure I fit that in at that time, instead of in the morning when I'm alone and trying to wake up? I think we can get tripped up by that. What used to work isn't working now, so we just abandon it altogether because one, maybe we don't want to try to shift things around to see where it would fit.
Yep.
Because it's hard, and then we get into that kind of state of paralysis of never mind, I'll just avoid it.
Yep.
Because everything else seems to be working that we think is a priority too.
Yep.
Or needs to be the priority.
Yeah. It's really interesting because when you try and force something too hard, I think you can break it.
Yeah.
As well. Like if you're trying to force a routine or force self-care into a spot where it just doesn't fit anymore because you do have a 2-year-old or a newborn baby or all sorts of things now. I'm just wanting to stand up for us and be like, well, that doesn't mean you should have to sacrifice it.
True.
If it doesn't fit because of other circumstances out of your control, it shouldn't mean that you have to then sacrifice exercise or, a shower or, other self-care things that we like to do.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just harder to come up with the shift of how that self-care looks, I think. So, Linda, you were doing CrossFit kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah, gym. What's
at
doing
your
gym?
gym, the interval training, I guess, is technically what that looks like. And I was doing some exercises at home, primarily like bar, but mine being an online at home program, I could fit it in anywhere. Your gym might be open, certain amount of hours, and you can go in anytime, possibly, or if you're going for a
The
specific
classes.
class, then you're more constrained to it. So how do we shift those things that were working so much for us? So mine can be location and time of the day. Yours might not be able to be that if that gym was working specifically for you. And before we even got on here, we were talking about how a walk down the street with our kids, may not be the good shift. So what's that in between? Mine's been walking with Declan to school every day, but now he's on a bike that makes him go faster than I can walk. So now I have to bike to keep up with him. So that's been a shift for me for getting at least some movement in my day, is being able to ride my bike with him. I don't know. And I think that's hard to come by, of like, well, what can I do instead that still gets me that bit of exercise? That's not the same.
Yeah. And because at the moment, Quinn, he really, really wants to ride to school with a 2-year-old as well. It means I can't really ride with her right now because I don't have a seat on my bike for her.
Okay.
And it actually, the seat on the back of the bike that I have actually topples, like it topples it, because of the weight that she currently is.
Sure.
So I'm going to need to actually look at getting a different bike so that she can go on the back. But again, it's downhill all the way and then uphill all the way back. So while I can ride with him and get that bit of extra exercise, it then takes half an hour or more out of my really valuable time that I have to myself only once a week.
Sure. So and then you're like stuck with, where are you leaving the bike? Does that mean he has to ride up the hill when you guys come back home, which means you have to spend the time riding there again? Or do you drag his bike home with you uphill and go pick him up a different way? And I mean, I've been there. I've dragged his bike home with me.
Yep. And we're talking a lot of hills. Like a ride home isn't just a 20-minute thing like it is for the big kids. For my big boys, they can make it home in 20 minutes on their bike. We're talking an hour, possibly more, by the time he pushes his bike all the way up the hill. That's a big chunk out of my day.
Yeah.
When time is really, really valuable and precious.
Yep.
So again, I feel like I have to sacrifice the exercise, and he's also missing out on something that he really wants as well, because he really, really wants to ride. But it's such a huge effort to then also carry a 2-year-old up the hill and her bike.
Yeah.
Because she rides some of the way on the balance bike, some of the way. So I have to put her up on my shoulders and then carry her and her bike and encourage Quinn to get up the hill as well, because it's hard for him to have all the energy and the time and the effort after a big school day. So it's still finding my feet in that way, which doesn't mean that the week's impacted completely. Yeah. There have been times where I have parked halfway to school so that when we ride back to the car, we actually ride back to the car and then drive up the hill.
Part. Yeah.
Yep. So that sort of works. But again, it's still a fair chunk out of my day.
Sure. Yeah.
And, a lot of people are working and don't have that luxury.
Definitely don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
Mm.
yeah, I feel like it just doesn't copy and paste across like I want it to.
No. And as I was getting ready for this conversation, I was thinking also there's some things that I think we can get stuck into that, like, oh, this works so good for me. Let's just keep doing this self-care. And we do get into the routine of copy and paste. And then it loses its power in giving us what we need out of that self-care. Because I think it comes to routine and just part of the everyday.
Yep.
Have you had an experience with something like that for some of your self-care before you got all this disruption?
Yeah, I think I definitely didn't appreciate as much of the rest and sleep. Like I felt like that was just I wasn't seeing or treating it as self-care. I was just treating it like a task I had to do.
Yeah.
Which is true as well. It is something you have to do. You have to rest and sleep eventually.
Right.
It's just I probably wasn't relaxing enough due to lots of other reasons as well. Yeah. What about you? Have you got anything that you've
I think it's my favorite thing. And I think it took stopping doing it for the season to realize how much I'd let it just be something that I always did. That was the grounding, especially when I was picking up the dog poop outside in the backyard. I finally did it for the first time this season last week. And I was like, oh, this is why I liked doing this, even though I hate the chore. But it was, being outside in my bare feet, walking around, letting him play.
17.
And it took a while for the usefulness of grounding to like sink in, and how like that helps me, because at first I wasn't really feeling the benefits of walking around in the grass barefoot. It took Declan doing a few silly things to get me that little spark of joy that was like, oh, this is why I really love days like this. So I think the disruptor of life happening around us, sometimes the season that comes in that, I'm not going outside to pick up dog poop in the middle of the winter with snow on the ground. So I have a season where I'm not doing it.
Because Honest can't poop in the snow.
Yeah, she can, but
can't. She can't.
All right.
Because there's no grass.
So I think sometimes those seasons of breaks can help us realize how we might have gotten into that copy and paste routine where we're like, this is why we did this again, because we feel so good after. So I look forward to when we both get to work out again the first time, Linda. We're going to be like, oh, this feels so good.
But also hard. I know it's going to be hard as well, especially we've both been a bit sick as well. So but it is really something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think there is some merit in just having a copy and paste sort of approach to self-care, in that sometimes you just need something quite routine and familiar to make your self-care feel safe and secure and predictable. I think there is some value in having copy and paste, if you like, where you can just not
like your
not give it too much thought.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, because sometimes it's nice just not to have to think about it too much, or not have to
think about what
Work
is it that
hard.
I can do. You know, like, yeah, that's why I like the list of things that we've come up with.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the other part of it is what works for me, is that going to work for you? So it's copy paste self-care, copy and paste between each other too.
Yeah.
And I think it has both sides to it as well. Like you're saying, Linda, that yes, there's definitely like things that you and I have shared that, oh, we did that. You know, I did that too.
Yep.
We figured out that, you know, sure, it could work for me just as well because it could work for you, but at the same time, the opposite. So I like your thought of it working out for us to have something that is a little bit more routine, that we don't have to think too hard, because it's just, we know this is going to work. We haven't done it in a while. It's going to work hopefully well for, you know, giving us that little bit of joy and energy back. So I think that the list is very helpful of, you know, the few things that we don't have to think too hard about to get some self-care in.
Exactly. And we would love to share that with you. We've got contact details in the show notes, everything else like that. It's something that we've found really useful for us, and others have too. So, yeah, feel free to reach out and get in touch and go from there. So, Jill, you have little people.
Yes, I'm the one that got interrupted during this session today. I thought it was going to be you, Linda.
I've got big boys to get to bed with school. We've had a 4-day weekend down here, so I'm ready for school tomorrow.
Yes.
So
we are so appreciative of you listening in, and yeah, until next week.
We hope you can unstuck your muck.